So what I'm about to share with you is based on fact. I will be giving my opinion and we will be doing some cards at the end. But I think it's really, really important that I share where my opinions come from as far as Nancy Guthrie, as far as the island guy whose name is Epstein, and as far as a lot of that other is concerned. So let's get started. We are in the Book of Bull once again, but even though it feels like it's a lot of bull, it's going to be a lot of fact. And I want you, my darlings, and I'm going to go slow. I'm going to do what I can to make this understandable, okay? And I'm going to kind of go from the beginning, and then I'm going to go back to the past that will bring us to the present, if that makes any sense. Today is day 81 of Nancy Guthrie missing. Wow. Just wow. So to recap, it is my opinion. I don't have that fact because I wasn't there, but I'm basing it on some of the information that I have and some that I have been given. It is my opinion that I believe, because of the interview in 2019, that it made Epstein's people mad. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you a timeline here, and I think you're going to really, really appreciate where this is coming from and how big this really is, and why it seems like sometimes when you get into the outer edges of everything and you're looking at the big picture, and that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you the big picture. When we look at the big picture, my darlings, you're going to see, I think, a lot better from the outside looking in. So let's start. In September of 2019, 2 months before Epstein got his ticket. Don't know if it was a paradise, but, he expired. So 2 months before Savannah Guthrie conducted, this is considered to be the largest group interview of accusers ever broadcast on American network television. Savannah conducted a historic NBC, and it also Dateline interview. Now, the interview were with 6 accusers who pointed the finger. The most explosive moment was with Virginia. I'm going to put her last name here. And we're going to call her Jenny. Okay. Was sitting across from Savannah. And this is when she mentioned, let me make room here so you can see. This is when Jenny, we're going to put Jenny up here. This is when Jenny outright, blatantly, and I'm going to say rightfully so, named the ex-prince. And that was ex-Prince Andrew. That was all publicly on American television for the absolute first time. That's when people heard this. And what did she say about the ex-prince? Well, let's see. The ex-prince had a lot to do with a traffic department. We're going to put it that way. When, she was about 17. Now, here's where it starts getting... Savannah also interviewed another young lady by the name of Jennifer Rose. Now, I didn't spell her name correctly. Araoc. Yeah, I did. Okay. Separately, she named Epstein's assistant in being involved with many notorious, intimate, horrible things in his Manhattan mansion. And we all know her name is Ghislaine Maxwell. Nobody really knows how to pronounce her name. I've heard it so many times. Now, here's where the rub happens. These were not passive interviews. They were not passive at all. Savannah pushed, and it was notably for details. She pushed for names. Now, nobody's blaming her, so please don't come at me because I'm just giving you the fact. Okay? If you want to know, that's the key. That's what makes this different. That's what makes this interview in 2019 with the Epstein big picture and those people that were involved through a traffic department when they were young. That's what makes it. You see, Savannah just didn't report on Epstein. She gave the survivors a microphone and she let them point fingers at the most powerful people in the world. That's a very specific thing. And some very specific people noticed. And that is where the problem is. So now we're going to go back to the past. And you're going to understand where this all kind of comes together. We're going to talk about Robert Maxwell just for a moment. That is the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, right here. This is the deep part, my darlings. He was born in Czechoslovakia. I cannot pronounce his name, but he was born in 1923. He was a Jewish child who survived the Holocaust by reinventing himself completely. He changed his name. He changed his nationality. And he changed his identity. Now, who was he? And how was he able to do this? Well, we're going to look into this. Let me get... And this is continued. All right. He became a British citizen. He became a British, not only citizen, but he was a media mogul. And he also became a member of Parliament. You see where this is going? You see where this is going, my darling? He was one of the most powerful publishers in the world. The book that he wrote says, this is the title, Robert Maxwell. Wait till you see this. Israel. Sorry, I'm looking through my Finder on my phone. Israel's super spy. And it was written by intelligence journalists Gordon Thomas and Martin Dillon. So the allegation of Maxwell was an asset of them. What year? Well, this is from the 1970s on. His most significant alleged operation was this software, and it was a huge scandal. I remember that. It was a U.S. government surveillance software stolen from a company called Inslaw. Oops. Let me do this. It's hard for me when I'm looking through my Finder here. All right. It was called Inslaw. Maxwell he allegedly, supposedly distributed modified versions of this software with a backdoor installed. So any intelligent agency could get into banks, governments worldwide, this sort of thing. But guess who he gave it to? Guess who he gave it to? This is not fringe. This is not something sort of kind of that I made up. This was investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice. Now here's something very interesting. So on November 5th of 1991, he was found floating near his yacht in the Atlantic Ocean, and the yacht was named Lady Ghislaine after his daughter. Oh, I didn't put an I there. There we go. Israel gave him a state burial. And guess where he's buried? I take offense to this. I just want you to know. And not that I'm not any nationality of this. I just take offense to this. Because guess where he's buried? The Mount of Olives. And that is reserved for who? National heroes. Why? Why did he do that? Do you see how this is all intertwined? Do you see why people get nervous thinking, oh, well, we need to prosecute them for what they did? People turn their backs because this is, now, I'm not worried about anything because this is public knowledge, already been investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice. So this is past tense. But here's the thing. There are questions raised about how he expired. Did he fall? Was he pushed? Did he jump? Don't think we'll ever know. But here's my big question. What did he know? You see where this is going, my darlings? Oh, wait. Just wait, because it's going to get really good. You know, because in this, we're going to talk about these things. And all of this is going to start making sense. All right, here we are. I know, Zelda. No. I've not jumped off the, no. I'm right here. I have right here. Some reports say that he threatened one of these Mossad. I'm going to say it that way, okay? I know it is. Some people say that he threatened one, perhaps of his own. Some say he was about to be exposed for what he did, and he expired at that exact moment where multiple scandals were coming together. Now, this is Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Ghislaine Maxwell didn't stumble into Epstein's world. She was raised in it. Her father built the template. He used media. He used access. He used compromising information to maintain leverage over powerful people. Epstein didn't create that playbook. He inherited it, my darlings. You see, Epstein, there is that thought that Epstein himself was involved in some intelligence. All kinds of different things going on there. Not going to touch base on that, but I am going to tell you this thing. Epstein organized scientific conferences, and he brought together physicists, AI researchers, and tech billionaires under one roof. And this was not for any type of, financial philanthropy or any type of money raising. It was to access and harvest intelligent collections at the highest levels. He even had, my darlings, now this is Epstein now that we're talking about. He even had a CCTV camera throughout his properties. That whole thing was such on an industrial scale. You see? What a web. Oh, what a can of worms. Now, Jeffrey Epstein was not a billionaire who liked, I can't say it, young things. He was a system, and systems don't operate alone. They have architects. Think about this now. What have I been saying? He's a builder. That's the epicenter. Do you remember me saying this to you? So, my darlings, now, he has people working for him. He has architects. He has protectors. He has people who are watchers. He has people who are recruiters. And then he has people who will do the dirty work. But you know what? Hold on. Hold on a minute, Zelda. You said something really important. Well, let's talk about this for a second. In 2019, in September, that was 2 months before he went bye-bye. Well, maybe it wasn't up, probably down. Do you believe that? It's my opinion, sort of, kind of, maybe, supposedly, allegedly, what happened to him, but I don't. My opinion, I don't believe that at all. You see, the one thing that people like when they get into these positions is power. They don't want their agenda to be upset. They have a very well-oiled machine. And this very well-oiled machine, my darlings, is very, very upscale. And he's pulled a lot of favors because here's one food of thought that I've always thought. Why did he want to invite all these high-level political science actors, singers, even religious people? Because someday if he needed something, he didn't have to go far. He had everybody. You know that little saying I say. Rich men, poor men, beggar, mean thief, doctors, lawyers, Indian chief. That's an old saying from the hundreds years ago. But every walk of life, because that way, if he needed anything at any time, anywhere, all he had to do was say, hey, you remember that particular time? Do you remember that particular time I helped you, well, get a little date with somebody? Yeah, so I need this done. So my darlings, could it have been blackmail? Maybe, sorta, kinda. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. Now, by the way, I do want to share something with you about Robert. Let's just call him Bob Maxwell, because I know he wouldn't like that. So we're going to call him Bob Maxwell. He was considered to be a triple agent. Maybe KGB, MI6, Mossad, maybe something like that. Maybe. He had a conglomerate on journals, media, what they reported, what they didn't report. But you know what he named? I'm going to see if I can. Bergamon Press. Now, I may have spelled that wrong, okay? I know that, all right? Bergamon Press is to be considered the place where the devil resided. Yeah, the place where the devil resided. And maybe here, I'll just spell it out for you. This means the throne of Satan. Now you know where this is going. Now you know why this is so important. Now you know why sometimes investigations, cases, and so forth can seem as though they're going cold. So here's the thing. One of these journalists' pieces connects the daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell, to the Atlantis mythology. She actually was very intelligent. She piloted a submarine that she named Atlantis. So she had a submarine, and she named it Atlantis. Oh, it's going to get really good. We've not even been there yet. Multiple women who visited the island, guess what happened? They reported seeing UFOs, UAPs, not flying around in the sky, but flying up from the ocean. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'm looking through my thing. Near the island. That was from these people. It just wasn't one. It was many. They reported seeing these UFOs, UAPs entering, coming in, and going out of the ocean near the island. There's got to be some meaning to that. Now, when Ghislaine Maxwell conglomerated, I'm going to say it that way, with Epstein. Epstein had science conferences. He included these researchers working on topics adjacent to advanced propulsion, consciousness, genetics, areas that overlap with UFOs and UAPs. Eric Weinstein, now if you don't know who he is, he's a mathematician and he's very intellectual, has publicly stated that Epstein was connected to the suppressed science community, people doing research that mainstream institutions won't touch. Are you thinking maybe about these scientists? The 11, could be 12 now. So Epstein was working with the underground on the UFOs and UAPs and many other things. The scientific community. I'm not saying I know what was happening around those islands. I'm just going to say I wasn't there and I don't know. This is taken from reports of people. I'm just saying that the people involved were interested in things that go far beyond what we've ever been told. And whatever was in that water, whatever came in and whatever went out, it was not on public record. It was reported. So let's now get back to Nancy. Here is I'm going to call it the Nancy theory. Nancy, at the time, was 84 years old, taken from her home in Tucson, Arizona. Early morning hours, we don't know. That's still up in the air. I can't find, we saw yesterday, was it 7 p.m. Tucson time, Arizona time, on the 31st, wherever. She went missing that weekend, February 26th. Here's the thing. Here's the timeline, my darling. The Epstein files. Were being released simultaneously. During that time that Nancy was being taken, this community was watching names emerge in real time. That was unearthed by pushing of Savannah in that interview with these two ladies, especially 2 of 6, Jenny and Jennifer, in 2019. Especially pointing fingers, naming names. Ransom deadlines were issued and passed, and the FBI was involved, and Savannah made very public pleas. Now, I'm just going to tell you, PBS, you all know who PBS is. I personally like their content. That's it. Okay, so anyway, they fact-checked the theory and they found no direct documented link to the Epstein files. I'm just going to tell you that. That's just PBS. You know what my opinion is. But notably, Savannah's husband, who is Michael Feldman, was not in the files. And yet we have all of this network who controls media, journalism. My question is, why of all people in the whole world did Savannah get that interview with NBC and Dateline? Let's think about this. Why was she chosen? It wasn't because of Nancy. Nancy has nothing for that regular criminal activity as being kidnapped or abducted for ransom or any of those things. It is my opinion. Well, we'll get there. Here's what PBS cannot do. Here's what they cannot fact check. Is the timing, because they've been asked, and the intent. They don't know. They don't know. It's the language of power, my darlings. So here is what I'm just going to tell you. Epstein owns property, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, just as we know, all around there. This is a much bigger picture than what we even think. To point the fingers out at the ex-prince, well, sure, he deserves it. He deserved that set of bracelets on his birthday. At the same time, close proximity there too, the Clintons were testifying in front of Congress about things that they knew, as in pizza. I don't know, plead the fifth. They didn't plead the fifth, but they just couldn't remember anything. I'm going to say it that way. I don't know. So here's what I submit to you for your own edification. I've given you facts today. I've given you why I feel that there is a connection, me personally. And I have given you why I feel that people have not been very astute in finding out things, is because this network right here of the epicenter is so big and powerful. So let's just say he is gone. Let's just say that he went kaplooch. He's boom. He's gone. He's under the ground. Let's just say that. And let's just say that Maxwell is in New York behind bars. I always thought it was very funny that she would be put away, but yet the people that also committed some of these things have not even been touched, maybe? Asked, maybe? So here's the core of all this, my darlings, and of the epicenter. First of all, take into consideration the Bergamon Press, the idea that it is the throne of Satan name should just give you everything that you want to know. But that's okay if it doesn't. Here's what I submit to you for your own theory, edification, just knowing that this is entertainment purposes only, and all I know is enough to know that I don't know enough. Maybe I don't want to know. But in my opinion, I believe that the taking of Nancy Guthrie was a message. That's my belief. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they find her sitting somewhere in the back of a little restaurant having tea and crumpets, and I'm serious when I say that. Because this is not a random crime. This is my Nancy theory. This is not a random crime. It's a message. You sit 6 survivors in front of a camera and you let them name a prince and you let them start naming names and you push for details. You push for other things. And you do not take into consideration that perhaps, maybe, sort of, kinda, allegedly, supposedly, I don't know. If it were me, I think I would have upped my security detail at that time, not only for me and my family, but my mother, who lived thousands of miles away by herself. And everybody knows, it's public knowledge, where your mother lives. When you do this sort of thing, you see, that's the language that these people speak. And my darlings, they've been speaking this for decades. And here we are back again. Thanks so much, my darlings. If you haven't done so by now, please like and subscribe. Hit those buttons. It really helps me. We have the House of Zelda cards. We have the Kipper, the Piotnik, and the Fire Element deck. Now, what I want to submit to you today is this. This is a case that has gone on for too long, and there are too many people that are raising questions. In my opinion, I'm not into that, okay, thing where I'm just going to say, you know what, I think I like to build my thought process on as much fact content, and what I just read to you was 98% fact, 2% my opinion, and maybe 1 3/4% opinion, and then 1/4% questioning. There's too much here that does not make sense. That group, that center, that nucleus has so much reach. And no, please don't say, be careful. No, I don't have to be, because this is common knowledge. It's okay. My little word is not going to do anything but say, okay, tell us what we already know. We're going to be looking into the cards today. Entertainment, right? We're going to just really give a good shuffle. And don't forget, Saturday night, we got so much to do. Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, that's New York time. Travel. We're going to have a lot of fun. But I want to show you some things. And we're going to talk about crime stuff. And I appreciate your voting yesterday for the questions and so forth. We're speaking to the energy now. You know, you see this? I shuffle. Tell us now, energy. Here's another deck I want to grab real fast. Give me a second. And yes, they're right here beside me. So this is the House of Zelda. Who is that? Zelda. Crime and Shadow deck. Mine as well. We're asking this. We haven't talked with the Crime and Shadows for a while. Both decks are available as a digital download. You can DIY your own cards in the psychic shop. That's trueoracle.com, the psychic shop. Here we are. Now let's remember, it was a full moon that night that she went missing. Travel. Now, this can have a deeper meaning, and it means to map out something. To map out something, a plan. Where are we going to go? How are we going to do this? What's our route? What's the best thing to do? Where is the best thing to do? And I'm going to submit to you right now, I still believe that there is some type of footage or photographs, I've always said that, of inside the home that they're not releasing. And I believe could be for one of many reasons, I don't know. This is serious. Hello, sweetheart. I love black kitties. You know, it's always said that if a black cat comes to your door, it's excellent luck. And decades ago, a black cat came to my dad's apartment. He let her in because he loves cats, or he loved cats. He's no longer here. And that night, she had a litter of kittens. So we always were smiling and said, well, she really graced you with a lot of luck. He found a home for her a few days later. And babies. A change of directions. I'm going to say this. Here we go again, my darling, because it's all about timing. And I truly believe that they're trying to figure out what's next. Because we have the DNA. You know how that goes. Well, we have this, then we have this, and then we have this, and we have this picture, and we have this thought and that thought. And now I know the patrolling in front of Nancy's house is getting to the point where if you go there and you put a tripod or you put any camera in front of that house, the police will stop by and enforce it, and they've threatened to arrest people. Now, this is the deputies. They're ordered to do that. So to me, there's just something. I wouldn't go there right now if you paid me, because that doesn't get anything done. Seriously. You're not going to be a martyr. You're just going to be, I don't know, dumb. Get yourself arrested. What can you do? Nothing. Except now it's going to cost you money for lawyers and bail and whatever. Especially if you're from a different state. Ain't a good look. It's all about timing. And you see that because we have these timing cards that are aces. That's a winter timing card. That's a 5 and 3 are 8. And for those of you yesterday that said, oh no, my math was wrong. I did not add 2026. I add 26. It was 1, 31, 26. So my math was correct, okay? Now, when I made these cards, this is Poe and this is Sammy. This can be taken as one of two things, saying goodbye or saying hello. And if you look at this, it kind of looks like Nancy's front door. And I would say that this is something that, in my opinion, obviously they're looking outside. And this would be, now of course the door is hung on the wrong side of the door, but it should be, well, maybe not. No, I guess it isn't. Okay, I got a little backwards there for a moment. But this is the point where the perp would come from this part over here during the full moon. And remember, we did that trajectory. We calculated by the moon, and you can do that scientifically to find out what time it is. And it put it right around the 2 a.m.-ish, between 2 and 2:30. I can't remember, but it put it between the 2 and 2:30 a.m. because of the position of the moon and the position of the guy. But this right now is telling us that there's a certain intelligence that goes with Poe, and there's a certain intuition and curiosity that goes with Sammy. Making sure that the candle remains lit, hoping, and the house hopes that she returns. This actually was one of my favorite cards to make. You have this cross in the middle, and you come to more than a crossroads. You come to a part where you wonder exactly where your belief system is going to take you. What path will you go down? Knowing that whatever path you choose, if you have a particular outcome or end destination, anything in life will tell us you can choose whatever path. You're going to get to that end destination. It just depends on the pathway that you take. And in this case, I question what path are we on? Now this one is a good one. I like this one because you used to say 3 or more together could be a conspiracy. Well, my darlings, I don't think it takes 2. I think it's just 1. And now, legally, I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you the legal part of it. But you see, after we learned about the epicenter, could you imagine those higher ups, those big people, those moguls from all walks of life getting together and making a plan? Not only a plan about Nancy, but I don't think it was Nancy as much as it was Savannah. Let's think about this for a second. Now, this is no shade on Savannah, okay? Nor Nancy, nor on the family. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's about Nancy. It's a message to Savannah and to the world. If you step on toes and you start pushing for more information and you start pushing for names, I mean, look at what happened to Ginny. Ginny is no longer here. She got in a really bad accident. And afterwards she said she would never think of doing anything to herself, and it wasn't soon after that that she was gone. And now it is common knowledge that we are given that she did that to herself. The family has grown quiet, and I believe they know. I don't know. I don't believe she would have done that. But you see, people like this, they're into one world governments. They're into things that, and I want you to think about these scientists. A couple of them, I think, are from Arizona. But I want you to think about that. They knew things below the surface level of things that they shouldn't really know. And of course, they're saying that this is going to be investigated. Do we really think so? Sometimes I feel in these cases, and it's just my opinion only, maybe we are told things. And let's think about this with Nancy Guthrie. They know that there's such a public outroar for information. Maybe they just tell us things to keep us quiet. Could that be? Courtship in a number 4. Great fortune. Oh, yeah. And a courthouse. Now, let me tell you this. Money has nothing to do with Nancy and this. Now, let me time out here a second. Here's the connection. Remember in the big book, let me go back here for a second. Remember, we were talking about the epicenter. They have people that do their dirty work. They have protectors. They have security. They have all kinds of things here. And the epicenter, well, they have the outreach. And they have recruitment. And that's what I'm talking about. Who was recruited? And many times they'll go to someone very, very close-knit to the victim, so it doesn't raise suspicion. Courtship. Now, I do not believe this is a relationship, even though it's a relationship card, but it's the relationship of Nancy to this particular interview, the courtship. She wanted to become engaged with it. You see what I mean? She wanted more. Of course, it was going to help her. Of course, this was earth-shattering. I remember this. This was stunning in a not so good way. And she got a lot of kudos for that. She also got a lot of backlash because I think people got scared and they got worried. But you know who I blame? I blame NBC. NBC needs to take some responsibility for putting Nancy on the air. That's my opinion. Great fortune, 26, and another 8. 8 is all about fortune. 7 is not so much. It's spiritual completeness, but you know the casinos and everything would like us to think that 7s attract money. It's not really that. That's why they put 7s all over, because it becomes a house advantage in a casino. A great fortune. Well, this whole thing, the epicenter, and especially with the ex-prince, well, guess what? They're losing money because now there's been rescue missions and there's been all kinds of other little things that have been going on and happening. They've lost. See, they don't like it. It brings attention to what they're doing. It brings attention to all these things. This is still in the courts. But will Nancy Guthrie's perp ever get to the courthouse? I don't believe so. 2 and 3 is 5. Guess what that means? Grace. And then the name Nancy means grace. Courthouse. Yeah, I believe that people have faith that someday someone will get caught, but I'm going to tell you, do you know how many hundreds of thousands are lost and they're never recovered? And I believe in this particular, it's my belief that that was the idea here. Sends a pretty big message. And I believe, in my opinion, Nancy's house was staged. There is that. Wow. The misfortune. And you see, there's the message. The widower, well, that could go for Nancy as well. She's a widow. But this also is all about grieving and loss. I mean, think about this. You just don't even know if you're ever going to see your mother again. You don't know how you would bury her because where is she? Can you have a celebration of life? What do you do that with? How do you do that? How long is it going to take? You see the hurt that this has brought? Because guess what? Now the machine has just started and they're bringing out a lot more things about this particular epicenter. And Savannah's not the only one who has, in my opinion, felt some type of something because that she's brought things to light. I keep saying Jim Carrey. There's been more. Why do you think when all of this started happening, there were many actors that started running outside the country and buying property? And, there's another dude in the Manhattan jail that had a lot of things to do. But he certainly didn't get what he should have gotten. In my opinion. Two men. Today the female doesn't show up. Two men. I believe this one is someone who represents the epicenter, and this one is someone who has been recruited. And this right here, my darlings, if you take a big look at this, if you look at it from like a bird's eye view, centuries ago, when I was a young reader, centuries ago, this would represent a four-poster bed. You see the fours in cartomancy, they're on the edge. They're just not so good. But this one really isn't that good. Because even though it has a lot to do with money and power, this is a card of being swindled. You know what swindled means? Taken. But this is also a card, my darlings, lack of trust and a warning. A warning. Being in bed with the devil. And who did we just talk about? The Bergamon Press, the throne of Satan. On the bottom of the deck. I know it's a long one, I'm sorry. Unexpected news, and look at this. Our two sweet black kitties and this fellow came out yesterday. Yeah, unexpected news is coming, all right. We're going to hear it. Up next, unexpected income. Well, I'm going to say that this is unexpected income, not of money. It could be, but it could be a message from the ransom people again, but I think it's more unexpected income of information coming. On the bottom of the deck of the Crime and Shadows. Yeah. Someone is watching. She was being watched. How do we know this? Well, take a good look. Who is in the hall? A couple of eyes. It's not a cat. It's that dark shadow person. When you make that deal that you've done something and there's just no going back. I hope these people are haunted. Loss. You see, that's what it's all about. They don't like loss, but they don't want this. They don't want attention to be brought to them, because then nobody that is high-powered and who needs things will not trust the epicenter. They don't want to get involved anymore because they're afraid that their name will come out. And let's just think about it. It's not so bad even that you're public, but what about your family that finds out you were involved? There's the guy who I believe is the throwaway. The throwaway boy who knows, and probably so scared. But I think that he's a throwaway because in my opinion, who knows, could have probably sort of kind of gotten double-crossed, maybe? I'm asking the questions. I'm asking it like to you. I want to thank you for being here today, my darlings. This has been a long video. I appreciate your time and your watching. We're going to get together again very soon. Stay tuned. There's more coming. Please do me a favor, like and subscribe, and you can start catching up here in this playlist. If you're just now tuning in, that'll give you a little bit to watch. There's 80, 79 days, 78 days of videos. Thanks again, my darlings. Find Nancy.